Welcome back, Closet Pickers. This is episode 10 of our 22-day amp series. Today we're going to talk about legendary amp builders. Obviously there are several. First one that comes to mind is Gerald Weber. He built Kendrick. His shop was in Texas. Unfortunately, Gerald passed away, but his amps are wonderful. He's probably best known for his recreation of the Bassman, the 59 Bassman. But the one I want to tell you about today is Ken Fisher. Ken Fisher created an amp called the Trainwreck. Ken was in the Navy and he was an electronics guy. And when he left the Navy, he started working for Ampeg. He worked for them for a few years and then he moved on. Some say he just didn't like the direction that things were heading, so he opened up his own shop in his house in New Jersey. And in 1982, early 83, he built his first Trainwreck amp. Now these are not your ordinary amp. He built them, they say no two are alike. I've never had the opportunity to actually play through an original. Rumor has it that there's about 70 that are actually in production. That he was only before he passed away as well. He was able to build I think the number's around 70. So he didn't use serial numbers, which I thought is kind of clever, because instead of using serial numbers, he used women's names. I don't know. I think that's a nice touch. It gives the amp its own little personality. There's a lot of stars that have them because in today's market, being that there are only a few around, they'll fetch anywhere from $25,000 to $40,000. And he only made it in a head version, no combos. And for some reason, he wanted to do that to preserve the life of the tube. A few players of mine that have them. One is Brad Paisley. The other is, I know, Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top. Now, if you look at both of those amps, two totally different players. And if Ken were to build each amp for each player, they would be different, because he would build the amp to suit Billy Gibbons, and he would build the other to suit Brad Paisley. It was very cool. Like I said, no two are alike. He had three models. One was called the Express. It ran on EL34s. It had two EL34s or 6V6 output tubes, and with two 12AX7s and then a 12AX7 phase inverter. It was the highest gain amp, so it would break up. You could get that higher level of distortion with that amp, kind of like a Marshall Plexi, if you will. And the other one is a Liverpool, and it is a 4 EL84 base power tube unit, and it has two 12AX7s and again a 12AX7 phase inverter. And then the third one that he produced was called the Rocket, and it was 4 EL84 output tubes and then a 5AR4 rectifier tube, two 12AX7s, and it was based on a top boost channel of an AC30, a Vox AC30. They also offered half power versions of these as well. In the final years that Ken was alive, he partnered or collaborated with, I guess it would be a better term, with Dr. Z amplification. So Dr. Z amps, I'm sure you're familiar with those. Another Brad Paisley endorse. He got with the builder for Dr. Z and they created what is known as the Z-Wreck. And very clever. And it is basically their version of the Trainwreck, but only from Dr. Z. Ken passed away in 2006, and his longtime friend that was in the shop with him took over production, and today he still produces the amps. They are made to order only. Again, it's a very cool feature, because I guess you would put the order in, tell him what kind of player you are, and he would build the amp to your likings. Now, you asked me what's so special about these amps is you plug them in and you can set this amp, and you shouldn't. It's kind of like to set it and forget it. So you set this amp, get it the tone you like, and then you change the tone like from dirty to clean with your volume knob on your guitar. So you can be playing, and if you're in a heavy moment, you're playing really hard, and then if you want to clean it up, you just roll your volume knob back on your guitar. It is so touch sensitive. And then also, these things are harmonic machines. Even at a low volume and clean, you can play a chord, hold one note, and it will just, controlled feedback starts to happen. It is glorious. If you've never experienced it, it's so cool. Ken built these amps to be an expression of the player, and he definitely achieved that. Couple side notes: he never added a handle on the top of these, and I thought that's how do you carry this thing? He built these in a beautiful wood cabinet, and it's so funny because where you would see the volume tone and your treble bass, he didn't write the names out. It looks like he took a wood burner, and for volume it was a V, and for treble it was a T. And on the back panel of the amp, do you remember those clickers that you had when you would type out a label? You turn the dial on the top and you push it, and then it makes the letter on a strip of tape. That's what he was using to mark like your speaker inputs and your fuse. It hilarious. Ken's magic was inside the amp. So if you like what you hear, I'm glad you're sticking around. We got a lot more episodes to come your way. Check out my webpage, guitarcloset.net. Check me out on YouTube at Guitar Closet. We'll see you soon.